Hello everyone. Today I'll be discussing Lesson 11, Interpreting Ecological Succession. By the end of this lesson, we will understand how ecosystems develop over time and differentiate between primary and secondary succession and learn about the concept of climax community. Let's begin. So first, what is ecological succession? Ecological succession is the gradual replacement of one community by the others, an orderly process of community change in a unit area, a process of ecosystem development. So, to further explain, ecological succession is the natural process of change in ecosystems over time. It describes how different species gradually replace one another in a given environment, leading to the development of a stable ecosystem. For example, let's think about an abandoned field. Over time, you'll notice small plants starting to grow, then shrubs, and eventually it might become a forest. This slow process of transformation is called ecological succession. Next is a pioneer species, are the plants and animals that are first to colonize a newly exposed habitat. So, what does it mean? Pioneer species is like the first colonizers, the first organisms to appear in a newly formed or disturbed area. These are usually lichens, fungi, bacteria, grasses, and small plants that can survive in harsh conditions. They play a crucial role in preparing the land for other species by breaking down rocks and adding organic material to form soil. Um, for example, on a newly formed volcanic island, the first organisms to appear will be small, har- hardy species like lichens and mosses. These pioneers help create soil so that larger plants can grow later. So let's differentiate primary succession and secondary succession. Let's start from primary succession. Primary succession is a newly exposed or newly formed rock is colonized by a living things for the first time. So basically primary succession is like starting from scratch. Primary succession happens in areas that never supported life before. This includes newly formed land from volcanic eruptions, retreating glaciers, landslides, or even abandoned man-made structures like a paved parking lot. So, to further explain, let's set some examples like volcanic eruptions. When a volcano erupts and lava cools to form new land, the surface is lifeless. However, after many years, wind and rain help break down the rocks. Lichens and mosses start growing, followed by grasses and shrubs. Eventually, animals arrive, creating a fully functioning ecosystem. So, starting from scratch, siya. Next is secondary succession. So, secondary succession is like rebuilding after disturbance. It's like it happens when an ecosystem is damaged but not completely destroyed. Unlike primary succession, soil is already present, allowing plants and animals to return more quickly. Common causes of secondary successions include wildfires, floods, deforestation, overgrazing by animals. And for example, forest fire. After a um, after a wildfire in California, the trees and vegetation may be destroyed, but the soil remains. Within weeks, small plants start growing again, and within years, the forest can recover completely. Another example of secondary succession is a typhoon damage. When a strong typhoon hits a coastal mangrove forest, many trees are uprooted. Ang mangrove na siyang mga gatubo sa uh, tubig. So, however, since ang soil remains, new mangrove seedlings sprouts and marine animals return, restoring the ecosystem in a few years. That is a secondary succession. To differentiate primary succession to secondary succession, let's think that primary succession occurs in an area where no life exists. Secondary succession occurs in an area where life exists earlier but destroyed. Dayon sa primary succession, development of biotic community is very slow. But in the secondary, biotic community is fast. Since natubuan naman siya daan before siya nawala. Then, the climax community. What is climax community? It is the final stage. That is the final succession stage of constant species composition. Is the stable and final stage of successions. Meron ni siyang nanubo na tanan after siya inhabitant sa mga plants nagtubo-tubo na to grow. So once an ecosystem reaches this stage, it remains unchanged. So dili na siya ma-distant. It's constant unless another disaster occurs. So this is when biodiversity is at its peak, with different species living in balance. So let's say example of climax community. So sa Amazon, so muna siya, perfect example is the Amazon. So it has a climax community. It has a wide variety of plants, animals, and microorganisms, all existing in a stable and balanced ecosystem. So another example is as pine forest sa Benguet nga nag-exist siya for centuries, providing a home for many plant and animal species. Unless a major event like deforestation happens, this forest will remain stable. To summarize it all, ecological succession is muna siya ang mga process of how ecosystem change over time. Like, then primary succession happens in areas where no life existed before, like volcanic islands or glacier retreats. So, and then secondary succession happens when an ecosystem is damaged but can recover, like after a wildfire or typhoons. So over time, these changes lead to a stable climax community where plants and animals live in balance. Remember, climax community is constant. So what we'll get about this lesson is understanding succession help us appreciate nature's ability to recover from disasters and remind us to protect ecosystem from human caused destruction. So that's all. Thank you for listening. I hope this explanation helped you understand ecological succession. So that's all.